Okay, so today we're going to dive into a business plan that is just brilliant. It does something that feels almost like magic. It takes a huge, expensive problem and flips it into a profitable, sustainable solution. Let's get into it.
I mean, that's the age-old dream of alchemy, isn't it? But what if I told you it wasn't a fantasy? This is the exact question driving a whole new way of thinking about industry.
And look at this diagram. It's not just a drawing. It's the whole story in one picture. On the left side, you've got the old way of doing things, bogged down by waste and inefficiency. On the right, a green, high-value future. And that bridge in the middle? Well, that's what a company called AX Group is building, turning those problems into profit.
All right, so to really get why this bridge is such a big deal, we first have to understand the crisis that's brewing on the other side. For a lot of companies, waste isn't just some minor issue. It's becoming a serious threat to their entire business.
For food companies in Taiwan, it's pretty much a perfect storm. You've got new laws cracking down on how they used to do things, the cost of just getting rid of waste is going through the roof, and on top of all that, there's this immense pressure from the public and investors to be more sustainable. They are well and truly in a squeeze.
And this really hits it home. This isn't some problem for down the road, it's happening right now. The old system is basically on life support, and businesses are scrambling to find a new path forward before the whole thing just gives out.
And this is where the genius comes in. This is the big idea. What if, instead of seeing food byproducts as waste that you have to pay to haul away, you saw them as a raw material? What if this huge liability could become a valuable new asset? This diagram shows the whole concept in one simple, elegant loop. It all starts with the source, the food processors with all their byproduct. That material then goes to AX Group's plant for processing. And what comes out the other end? High-quality animal feed that goes right back into the agricultural system. See? It's a closed loop, a perfect circle of value where nothing gets wasted. So you're probably wondering, how do they actually do that? What's the secret sauce? Well, it's a really smart 5-step industrial process. First, they take in all the raw material. Then, they crush it up and sort out anything that shouldn't be in there. Next, they literally squeeze out most of the water before using heat to dry it to the perfect moisture level. And in that final step, they separate it all out into the good stuff, valuable feed and oil. Boom!
Now, a great idea and a cool process are one thing, but we all know that execution is everything. So what makes this specific project so likely to succeed? Well, it has a kind of secret weapon. You could even call it an unfair advantage.
And this slide right here, this is the secret. Most projects like this are what's called greenfield. That means you start with an empty piece of land and build everything from scratch. It takes forever, costs a fortune, and it's super risky. But this project is brownfield. The best way to think about it is it's like renovating a house that's already got great bones instead of building a new one from nothing. It's just way faster, way cheaper, and a whole lot less risky. And here you can see exactly what I mean. Look at this site plan. The basic layout, the storage areas, the roads, even the wastewater treatment. It's already there. They can just drop their new high-tech equipment right into the main building and integrate it. I mean, talk about a head start.
And the advantage isn't just the site itself, it's where it is. It's smack dab in the middle of what they call the 100-kilometer golden circle. And what that means is that all the food processors supplying the raw materials are close by, and all the farms that are going to buy the final product are also close by. That keeps transportation costs way, way down and just makes the whole operation incredibly efficient.
Okay, so let's recap. We've got a massive problem, a brilliant solution, and a huge advantage in execution. But how does it actually make money? Let's get into the business model, because this is where it gets really clever.
See, the genius here is that they don't just have one way of making money, they have three. About 45% of the revenue comes from selling the animal feed. Another chunk, about 13%, comes from selling the oil they separate out. But here's the kicker. Almost half their money, 42%, comes from just charging the food companies to take away their waste in the first place. And this graphic is just a fantastic way to understand the strategy. That fee they charge for taking the waste, that's the defensive floor. Think of it like a fortress. It's super stable, predictable cash flow that covers your costs no matter what. Then you've got the attack engines. Those are the sales of feed and oil. That's where you get the huge profit potential. So you've got safety and massive upside. It really is the best of both worlds. And you don't have to take my word for it. The proof is in the numbers. They ran a stress test. Basically, they imagined a worst-case scenario where commodity prices just collapse.
Even then, the project still generates an incredible 18% internal rate of return. Now, IRR is just a fancy way of talking about your annual return, and 18% in a worst-case scenario, that is absolutely incredible. It just proves how rock-solid this business is.
So yeah, it's a fantastic business. But the story here is actually much bigger than that. This isn't just a win for investors. It's a win for businesses, for the community, and for the planet.
For investors, the win is obvious. We're talking an 18 to 25% IRR. For a stable infrastructure project like this, those are just killer numbers.
And they don't have to wait around to see those returns either. The payback period for the entire initial investment is projected to be just 3 to 4 years. That is ridiculously fast.
And here is the win for the rest of us. For the environment, it keeps 150 tons of waste out of landfills every single day. For society, it builds a stronger, more resilient local food system. And from a governance standpoint, the whole supply chain is 100% traceable and safe. It is the very definition of a triple win.
So at the end of the day, the big takeaway is this. This project shows that some of our biggest, ugliest challenges, like waste, aren't necessarily problems to be managed. They're opportunities to be unlocked. It kind of makes you look around and wonder, right? What other costly problems out there are just waiting for the right alchemist to turn them into gold?